In today's video, I'm going to show you how to diagnose and replace a bad starter. A vehicle starter can go bad for several reasons. It could be mechanical. The gears that make contact with the flywheel can get stripped, and that would keep your vehicle from starting, not to mention that it would damage the flywheel at the same time. If your vehicle is leaking oil, if the oil gets inside the starter, if you short it out, or like in this pickup, there's really no oil on it, but the solenoid is getting bad. What it's doing, sometimes when you try to start it, it will just click, 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 and nothing. And then you do it enough times and eventually it starts. But the problem is just bound to get worse. So, before I end up stranded somewhere, I'm just going to go ahead and replace it with a new one. Most starters are going to have two wires. You can have a larger wire, which has power from the battery all the time, and you're going to have your solenoid wire, which is a smaller wire. This is the one that receives the power when you try to start your vehicle. When troubleshooting a starter, if you want to find out if the reason why your vehicle doesn't start is the starter or the ignition switch, maybe a neutral safety switch, starter relay, or any other electrical component, what you want to do is, with a circuit tester, also known as test light, you ground the test light to a metal part of the vehicle, could be the starter itself, the body of the starter, it doesn't matter, just as long as it's grounded. What you do is, first of all, you test to see if there's power to the larger wire. Okay, that's the very first thing you want to do. Make sure that the connection is good, because if the starter is not receiving power, it's never going to start. Next step is you're going to need an assistant for this. So you're going to put your probe on the smaller wire, and you're going to have your assistant try to crank the vehicle over. When your assistant is trying to start it, if the light on the tester comes on every time he or she is trying to engage the starter, then your starter is your problem and it needs to be replaced. If you don't receive power when your assistant is trying to start it, what you can do is, depending on how much room you have, okay, the safest thing would be to use a remote starter, and you hook one end of your remote starter here and one end here, and then you try to crank it over. If you don't have a remote starter, that's fine. Make sure you don't touch any other metal parts of the vehicle, but all you have to do is, with the screwdriver, you transfer power from the bigger wire to the solenoid wire, and if your starter is good, then doing this will crank your starter. So at that point, you need to troubleshoot what is causing this wire not to receive power. And like I said, it could be either the ignition switch itself, neutral safety switch, starter relay. You would just have to find out. But so simple as that. Put power from one wire to the other, and the starter should engage. If you didn't receive any power to your tester when your starter was trying to crank it, and you were holding the tester to the small solenoid wire, under the hood of your vehicle you're going to have the fuse cover. The relays are going to be marked. So here's the starter relay. If you don't want to buy a relay right away, there are more relays that have the same number. So for instance, in this pickup, the horn relay and the starter relay had the same number. So you could always swap them to find out if your problem is a bad relay. This keeps you from buying a relay that you probably won't need. And obviously make sure all your fuses are good. I already did all my troubleshooting, so I'm just going to go ahead and replace the starter. I'm going to go ahead and show you what a bad solenoid sounds like when you're trying to start your vehicle. This is the starter right here. So listen to the sound that it makes when I try to start this truck. So the sound is coming from here, from the solenoid. It's trying to engage, but the connection is not good enough and it doesn't engage the starter motor. So it needs to be replaced. If I keep trying, or if I tap this starter with the hammer, just tap it slightly, it will start. But like I said, the problem is just bound to get worse. So it's not a wise move to wait until you're stranded somewhere. Make sure you disconnect your negative battery cable before you replace your starter. I'm just going to show you on this one how it needs to be replaced. That way I'm not out there trying to face this camera in tight places. So what I'm going to do is disconnect remove both nuts and disconnect the cables that go to them. After that, there's 2 bolts to hold the starter. You know, one may have a stud, so remove the 2 and then just slide the starter out. Simple enough. And to install the new one, well, just reverse it. Just install it on, tighten the bolts, make sure they're tight, install your wires back on, snug them, connect your negative battery cable, and start it and see what the difference. Alright, so I'm done replacing the defective starter. Now I'm going to show you what a new starter should sound like. There you go. Now you know how to diagnose a defective built-in starter solenoid, and you also know how to replace the complete starter. The vehicle we used was the 1995 Dodge Ram 1500 with a 360 engine. But most starters, they share the same principle, so regardless of what you drive, you should be able to use these steps and replace the starter in your own vehicle. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. We upload new videos every week. Also, don't forget to visit our online store. We have a wide selection of accessories for cars, trucks, and SUVs. See you next time.